Well, hello again. My name's Adrian Gilbert, and if you don't know who I am, I've done a whole load of lectures on things like the Book of Revelation. We did some on Darwin recently, and I've been doing other lectures too. But this one's going to be rather different. It's one that I've been hesitating about doing. Actually, I've been hesitating about talking about this subject publicly for over 40 years. And that's quite a long time, I think you'll agree. So why am I talking about it now, and why am I talking to you about it? Well, the answer is that I believe that we are living in the end times. In fact, I've written a book, Signs in the Sky. Where is it? Here we are. Signs in the Sky, which was published in the year 2000, where I presented evidence, which I think is quite strong evidence, that the Book of Revelation, what's being described in the Book of Revelation, the Apocalypse of St. John, actually began around the 21st to 29th of June in the year 2000. So that was kind of the opening chapter of that book, the Revelation, which chapter 4 starts off, "Lo, in heaven a gate is opened," and things happened after that. And we are living through this whole situation, which is why things are so crazy at the moment. At least I think they are. Maybe you don't, but the whole way that the world is, the divisions that we're seeing politically speaking, this strange pandemic that's been sweeping through the world, and we've had worse pandemics, but this one is causing chaos in other areas besides health. It's causing chaos in the whole economic structures of the earth, and it's having huge impact on people and on our societies. So I'm not going to go down that path, but this is kind of how I see things are, that we are living in this end time that we've been told in the Bible to look out for. And I'm going to explain certain things to you today that impact upon that. And I'm going to talk about something that happened to me personally way back in 1977. And that's probably a long time before many of you were born. And I was a young man at the time. I think I'd just turned 28. And the thing that happened to me was a life-changing experience. It was the life-changing experience. And the reason I'm going to talk to you about it is because I believe that for many of you, perhaps not everyone, but for many of you, you're going to go through this experience. And it will help you a lot if you've previously heard from someone like myself. And I don't, consider myself to be the greatest wisdom on earth or anything stupid like that. I'm not a messiah, not at all. I think I'm one of those who's been sent here to prepare the way for the Messiah, one of many. But I'm certainly not anything like that. I'm just an ordinary guy like you, and I've had a normal life in many respects. I had to work. I've done all sorts of different jobs, from programming computers, being a sales rep, working in shops, even as a student working on a building site. So I've done all these things that are normal things that we do. And I'm married, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. So, I'm a normal, ordinary person. I'm not talking to you like, Maharishi or something crazy like that. This is an ordinary person like you who had an extraordinary experience. There are good reasons why I had that extraordinary experience, but I'm going to go into that probably in another lecture. I just want to tell you about the experience and what it can mean for you if you're going to go through the same thing, and I think many of you are. Now then, we've been talking about my journey to heaven, and before I go into that exactly, I want to first say a little bit about the second coming, as it's so called in the Bible. They call it the parousia, and that's a Greek word meaning arrival, or it's sort of when a king arrives somewhere, goes somewhere. That's his parousia, his arrival. So it's the arrival, really, of Jesus Christ coming back for the second time, and that's spoken about in the Bible. And it's an essential doctrine of Christianity. The Bible teaches that at the end of the present age, Jesus will return to the earth. He will be coming both as a judge and to collect his own and take them back to heaven. Now, that's a pretty strange thing to put in there. But I think you'll agree with me that this earth, it's a great place. We all live here, and it's the only planet in this solar system that's habitable. Maybe Elon Musk is going to terraform Mars. I don't know. I think he's going to have a job to do. It's one thing to get a rocket there and take a bunch of people there. It's another thing to make that into a habitable space, even under glass domes or something, because there's not enough air on Mars, and it's not the right sort of air anyway. So, yes, this is the only habitable planet within our solar system. It's in the Goldilocks zone, as we know. But when you look out in the night sky, there's millions and millions of stars out there. We now know that most, if not all of them, have got planets going round them. Okay, the ones that they've found first are what they call hot Jupiters, big planets, big gaseous planets close to their star, going around very, very fast. That's why they call them hot Jupiters, because they're hot because they're close. Those were the easiest ones to spot. But they started finding other ones now, sort of what would be rocky planets, and they've found some which they reckon are within the habitable zone of those stars. So it's not an unreasonable thing to suggest that up there in space there's other planets that are habitable. Maybe not like Earth, maybe with a very different biology on them, but habitable. And when we're talking about biology, talking about human biology, what are we essentially talking about? We're talking about a machine, a physical machine that can metabolize the material on this planet. It can eat vegetables and meat and breathe air and drink water, and out of that manufacture energies that will run not just the physical body itself, although most of those energies are taken up by the body, but also to enable our minds to work, to enable our emotions to work. They all take energy, you know. It doesn't happen just without any kind of input. And you know what it's like with a battery. When the battery is running flat and you put it in your torch and it's just a really dim light. And that's kind of what happens to us in old age. Things wear out. And that's why we get things like Alzheimer's disease. It's not so much a physical problem. Of course, there is a physical component, but it's an energy problem. If the old people had the energy, their brains could clear up whatever's blocking them up, and they would be much brighter and able to think more clearly. It's a matter of energy. And it's the same as, you know, with your physical body. Things wear out. Sportsmen are at their best in their 20s usually, aren't they? Because that's when they've got the most energy. And then as you progress, once you get into your 30s and then your 40s and your 50s, you have to work to get the energy you need to have anything like the kind of freedom and possibility you had when you were young. That's just the way life is, you know, that on this planet. But I'm going to talk to you about something else here. We're talking here about the parousia, the second coming of Jesus Christ. And I'm sorry if you're not a Christian here, but bear with me, because this is not just for Christians. I'm not a Bible bashing idiot. I'm not one of these people who's going to go and collar you in the street or knock on your door, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses here, you know, you must hear the word of the Lord. I'm not like that at all. I've studied a lot of different philosophies. I've been into a lot of what you might call New Age things. I've rejected most of it because it's mostly not going to get you where you want to go. But I've been through that path, and I know that many of you have also been through that same path. And now I want to bring you back to finding the true path, which is narrow. It's like walking a tightrope, actually, that will get you to the next stage, which is off this planet. Yeah, we need to get off this planet. We're bound here. We're actually prisoners on this planet. And the whole Christian thing is about liberating us. That's what it's all about, nothing else. I've got no time for the religion of big hats, you know, I've got a better costume than you have, therefore I'm much more senior than you. None of that. That's rubbish. It means nothing. What you need is to connect to an energy source that's going to get you off this planet. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I've got a couple of slides here. I'm not going to do much with slides on this lecture, but you've heard of the so-called rapture. You know, this is a very popular subject in America particularly. They have this idea that when Jesus comes along, he's going to pick us up by the hair, you know, he's going to take us up in the sky with him and we're going to go to heaven, yeah? Body and everything, we're going to heaven. Now, I'm sorry to disappoint, that's not what it's about, and it's not going to happen that way. It's not, I promise you. These bodies that we have here are designed for use on this planet. They're not going to help you up there. You don't need them anyway. You will have a second body, which in Christianity is often referred to as the wedding garment, or the body of light. When you read your Bible, you read what Jesus actually says about the body of light and the garment. Yeah, and you can't go to the wedding feast if you haven't got the garment, you haven't got the wedding garment on, and you'll be thrown out into the outer darkness where there's gnashing of teeth. You've maybe read that. And so our life here on earth is really to prepare us for life off earth. The whole thing is about creating this second body and getting the energy, which is sometimes referred to as oil. You've maybe heard the parable of the virgins with the oil, and the wise virgins had extra oil, so the bridegroom's delayed, they got the oil, they can refill their lamps. The foolish virgins came along without any extra oil and their lamps go out. Yeah. When I use the word virgin, we're not talking anything sexual here. That's just the Latin word means a girl, basically. So the whole idea of this rapture, that he's going to come along and pick you up by your hair, well, it's not going to help me, is it, if he's going to pick you up by your hair, is it? And a lot of other people. But there is a rapture, but it's not what they think at all. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight, or today, I should say. Now, I want to go back to what I was saying. Well, let's just first of all cover this. What it says in the Bible, the actual words in the first letter to the Thessalonians by St. Paul, 4:17, that we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. So that's why they reckon that they're going to be snatched up into the clouds to be with the Lord, and they're going to be with him forevermore. But it's not like that. It's actually a spiritual process, and this actually happened to me. It did. It actually happened to me way back in 1977. Now, let me give you some context here. I've been studying an awful lot of stuff even then. I mean, I was only 28, but I've been hard at work on all of this since about the age of 19, 20, in earnest. And I kind of I've had various other experiences before this, but this is the one I want to talk about today. I'd had kind of intimations that I was going to meet an angel. It would come into my mind, Adrian, you're going to meet an angel. And I'd be walking around and I kept seeing statues with angels. And I went into the National Gallery, and I was walking. I used to do this at that time. I used to walk around and just see what pictures drew me and what symbolism in those pictures was speaking to me. It's a bit like a sort of tarot card reading in a way, that you can go into a gallery and just see what you're vibrating to by what is drawing you. And it can give you some ideas about, make conscious what's going on with you in your subconscious. And I was seeing angels. That was what was around. So I thought, okay, I'm going to meet an angel. And I was quite looking forward to it, actually. Anyway, I was living in Hampstead at the time. I was renting a room there. And I did my prayers before going to bed. And suddenly I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed and felt totally weak. I felt this presence coming into the room. And I just had to lie down. I just lost all my strength, which is actually what St. John describes at the beginning of the Revelation. And I just had to lie there on the ground, and it got more. I suddenly found myself completely paralyzed, and my breathing stopped, and my heart stopped. Now, hang on to that for a minute. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw this light form. I suppose it was maybe 4 foot high, compared with me lying down. And the head of this, it was an eagle, and the head of this eagle standing there was about level with where my head was lying on the bed. And I was sort of captivated by its eye. The eye was looking at me, and it was just more and more and more powerful, looking at me. And suddenly I felt this curious feeling in my body of my energy, my sexual energy, rising up my spine. Now, you've probably heard about this. They call it Kundalini in the East. But what they do is completely wrong. Don't do that. You'll damage yourself if you do. This is a natural process which has to happen at the right time. And I grow roses a lot in the garden. And I prune the roses, I feed them, sometimes spray them against black spot. I do all of that. But what I don't do is go to the buds and try and open them and make them blossom before they're ready. Because that does not work. You just destroy it. The nature of flowers is they have to mature and reach the point where they're ready to open, and then they do. And they open and they're beautiful. And it's the same with what are called the lotuses in your body, sometimes called chakras, or lotuses is another name. You shouldn't be trying to force them open. That's not the way. If you work on yourself and you develop yourself and you raise your energies to the right pitch, they will open of their own accord. And what happened to me was this energy moved up through my spine. Actually, it was up through my front, I think, and went up to my head and into my brain. And this was a sort of sexual warmth, sort of like an orgasm, actually. And then what I felt was it was as though this eagle was copulating with my head. Now, I know that sounds a very strange thing to say, and one of the reasons I haven't talked about this publicly for over 40 years. Imagine if I went up to my doctor or someone and I said, look, can you tell me about this? I saw this eagle of light, and then I felt it copulating with my brain. He'd be sort of dialing up, send the guys with white coats round, will you? There was no way I could talk about that. But it went on much further than that. And the next thing I knew was I was being taken out of my body. And you've heard about this tube of light. And I went up through the tube of light. You've heard about these near-death experiences that people have sometimes. And they talk about how they were on the operating table and they went out of their body and they were taken up the tube. I went up the tube of light, taken by the eagle. And I found myself in this place, place of extraordinary love is the first thing I'd have to say about it. You could feel this higher energy, so wonderful, so extraordinary, ecstatic. But it was also a place of judgment is not perhaps the right word. Examination would be a better word. And it was like I was in this room and there was this, you can imagine a table with all the people round it, and all these eyes. And it was a bit like when you're at school and you have to go up to the headmaster's office. And there you are standing there, you know, you're being judged. And he can see, he's got your, you know, the report on you in front of him. You haven't done your homework. You had your hands in your pockets, whatever the misdemeanor was in school. This was more than that. It was like these eyes with these higher beings, let's call them archangels, something of that sort, could look right through me and they could see right into me. I had no secrets there. I mean, they knew everything about me, who I was, what I'd done, everything I'd done in my life, what I thought, what I felt, everything. There was no hiding, none at all. And then they asked me a question. They asked me, would I do something? And I said yes. And that something was to come back here. I could have stayed there, I think. But actually my task, my destiny, was to come back here. And I had a certain role to do, which I've tried to do ever since. But I'll come back to that. I found myself then coming back and leaving that place. And it was agony, I can tell you. This place is so wonderful. I had the feeling I didn't belong there, that I was not fit. You know, there's the story in the Gospels. I think it's a Roman centurion that Jesus comes and heals I think it's his daughter. And he says, Lord, I'm not worthy that you should come under my roof. Jesus goes into the house and he heals the daughter because of the centurion's faith. Well, it felt like that I'm not worthy to go into this place of bliss, this place of extreme love of God. Who am I, this man of flesh? I'd left the flesh on the bed, but this man with all my sins and all the things I've done in my life. Yeah, I'm not sinless by any means. I've done things I'm ashamed of. I've apologized and I've repented, but you know, like you've done the same. Come on, admit it. I'm no angel. So there and I'm sort of having to leave this place, and I'm coming back. Oh no, I'm having to leave, and the wrench, and then I'm back in the room. I should say I was actually, my consciousness was in two places at the same time. Part of me, this higher part, was in this place with the eyes and the elders. And the other part of me was still in the bed, experiencing this extraordinary orgasm and, copulation with my head. And then a higher part of me comes back and it sees this body of flesh. Oh, have I got to go back in that? And then the next thing I know, I'm back in the body. But it didn't stop there. I was now full of this extraordinary radiation and energy. And it was like my body was on fire. It was like my blood was filled with this high energy, and it was like being on fire. It's the only way I can describe it. And my brain was just working incredibly fast, incredibly active. And I felt also that this energy from my head came down the sides of my face and down through the veins into my heart, and my heart opened. There's a big chakra there, big lotus there, opened, and I felt this extraordinary love pouring out of me. And at the same time, I found my shall I say, my mind, my consciousness. It was impossible for me to think an evil thought. Impossible. It's impossible for the devil or anyone else to tempt me in that state, because it was just the heart was being held and the lower nature was being controlled. The lower nature you can think of as like being a serpent. And I had a friend of mine, Bengt Alfredson. I told him about this. He's a Swedish artist, and I asked him to paint a picture for me, which he did. And here it is. It's called the Eagle Endeavour, and it shows the eagle clutching the serpent. The serpent represents your lower nature, the man of earth, the man of the beast man, as it were. And the eagle represents the logos, the higher self, connected with the will of God. And this is the whole thing, that it's necessary for us humans, if we want to get off this planet, we have got to connect with the logos, the higher logos. Jesus says, I am the word. You know, the logos means word in Greek, but it's not just any word, it's the word of the Father. And you've got to think of God in this context. I've done a whole lecture on this, but in brief, think of God as speaking. You know, God issues words, but the words that God issues are commands. Yeah? Do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. There are commands which come out, and they come out with certain energy. And if you obey those commands, you're connected to the energy, and you can awaken your higher centers and your higher self, and you can develop this spiritus body, this body of light, which is what's being talked about in the Gospels. And this whole experience I went through was that connection. Now, for the next 10 days, I was walking around with this extraordinary energy in me, completely clear mind, no temptation, nothing like that. And I had absolutely no sexual desire, because I was so fulfilled inside with this connection between the lower and the higher, that the idea of ordinary sex had no appeal. This was 100 times stronger, probably more than that. It was overwhelming, and it was permanent. And this is what is being talked about when they talk about this parousia, when people are going to be lifted up to meet the Lord in the sky. This is what it's talking about. And many of you, I think, are going to experience this, which is why I'm telling you about this now. And I urge you to spread this around, make it viral, because people need to know this. This is what is talked about and what is going to happen to people. And you need to know not to be afraid, to go with it, accept it, and don't fight it. Just say yes, and you'll be taken there to the throne of God. Yeah, to the antechamber anyway, and you will meet these higher beings, and you will be preparing for your journey to go to the next level above this planet. We're not from here. Yeah, we belong higher up in creation than this earth. We're not animals. We've been misled and mistaught and everything. There are demons on this world, and there's a prince of demons on this world, doing everything they can to keep the human race trapped here. It's not going to succeed. And you're going to have to make a decision. Am I with God or against God? That's what you're going to have to decide. And no big hats on flowing robes and special titles, anything going to help you at all. Because you're going to go to that room and you're going to be scrutinized by those eyes, and they're going to see everything about you. Yeah, if you're a bishop and you've been fiddling around with choir boys and on the side, that's going to be known, and you're going to get the punishment for that. I promise you, if you don't repent first. And that is the kind of situation that we are in. that unfortunately we've not been taught properly. You see, the word bishop comes from the Greek word episkopos. And for those of you who don't know any Greek, I know a little bit because I did some at school. A means out of, pisco is from piscis. Yeah. Actually, it's Latin rather than Greek. Episco, out of the fish, pus, foot. So the bishop is meant to be the foot out of the fish. The fish, ichthys, is a symbol for Jesus Christ. So he's meant to be the footprint, boots on the ground, as they say. The boots on the ground are supposed to be the bishops, and they're supposed to be in this state. And how many of them are? How many of them? Is the Pope an awakened man? Is he connected to the Logos? Is he truly the foot out of the fish? I don't think so. So you need to know about this. Now, after the 10 days, I still had to do a normal life. I'm not a privileged person who can go and live in his cave, live in a palace somewhere and be waited on, or go be a hermit and go and live in a cave. I was working as a sales rep. I couldn't stay in that situation and do what I have to do in this life. So I had to ask it to leave me. And it did after about 10 days. So this experience that I went through is actually what's being talked about when you read the Grail legends. And you know the story of the Grail, Parzival and Galahad, and the other knights all go out searching for the Grail, and most of them, die en route, they don't get there. A few of them, like Lancelot, managed to get a little sip. And that's kind of how I am, how I feel. I have my little sip. I couldn't hold on to it because it wasn't my destiny to do that. Maybe there are other people who have, I don't know. But I had another job to do, which is to do with bringing into the world certain teachings, which I've done. I've written about, I think, 10 or 12 books now, analysing the mysteries of the world, and particularly religious things, trying to find the truth. And also trying to bring people back to God through Jesus Christ. Because that is our way. He's our leader. Yeah, he's, be of no doubt about that. I don't care if you're Jewish or Muslim or Hindu or whatever. Don't think it's not all about sort of people clapping hands and singing little hymns in church. It's nothing to do with that. That is all just cultural addendum that brings people together, which is fine in its own way. But what you need to know is it's about connecting to the energy and surrendering to the Logos. That's what it's really all about, and that is your rescue plan to get you off this planet. And it's been known by other people. For instance, this image I have here that Benk painted for me, it's not that dissimilar from the flag of Mexico, is it? Where you got the eagle clutching the serpent. Somebody knew something. And do you remember a Man Called Horse, a film a long time ago? I think it was Richard Harris was in it. And he was captured by the Red Indians. Not allowed to use that word. Native Americans or First Nation or whatever they call themselves now. Anyway, he's taken by this tribe and then he's initiated into their tribe where they put these eagle claws clutching his breast, and they haul him up by the skin of his breast, and he's dangling there for a day or whatever until the skin breaks and he comes down. That is a kind of very graphic version of the true spiritual truth, which is the eagle of the Logos coming and taking you and initiating you. So I'm actually an initiate. Yeah? I've been initiated. And nobody else can initiate you. A bishop or a priest or a rabbi or I know, a top Freemason, anyone. They cannot initiate you. All they can do is carry out rituals according to their own tradition. But to be initiated, properly speaking, as a human being, is to go through the second birth. And that's what this is. It's a death at one level and birth to another. Unless a man die and be born again, he will not go into the kingdom of heaven. And the connection that I made at that time was with the Holy Spirit, the Holy Breath, which is symbolized by fire. And believe me, when you go through this, you feel it. It's actually quite frightening. So I want you to take this on board. I'm serious here. I'm talking now publicly for the first time. It's about 43 years since I went through this. And I'm talking about it for the first time publicly. And it's because I do believe that we are in the end times and that the parousia, the arrival of Jesus Christ, and the taking people into the sky is going to happen. It's this. You'll leave your bodies behind here, perhaps temporarily. Maybe you'll just go up for a while and come back and then do other stuff. Or maybe you'll leave the body altogether and you'll stay with him up in the sky. You're not going to take the body up there, I promise you, because what would you do with the body in space if you haven't got a spacesuit on even? You'd just die, wouldn't you? So it's not that. It's a spiritual thing. And that's what's going to happen to those who have repented of their sins and who have turned back to God and to Jesus Christ and asked for help, asked to be taken to the kingdom of heaven in due course. And it doesn't matter what age you are. This can happen to you when you're 81, when you're 90, or it can happen when you're 20. You can go through this same experience and become one with the Logos Spirit, one with the Lord. Because that's what he is, It's the Logos Spirit that came upon this man Jesus Christ and connected him, and we can be connected the same way. So on that note, I'm sorry this has been very different from most of my lectures. We are going to go back to a lot of other stuff, and I'm going to elaborate on some of this a bit further in other lectures. But I just wanted to share this with you now, because I think we are coming up for that time. And I don't know how long I'm going to be on this planet for, to be honest with you. I'm 71 now. I don't have wonderful health. And I don't know how long I'm going to be still here, boots on the ground. So I needed to share this before I go. Because next time, if this happens to me, I doubt I'll be coming back here. So thank you very much for your time. And please pass this message on. It's important, and it could save you, not just save your life, but save your soul, which is what's even much. But this is the most important lecture you'll ever hear. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to talking to you again. Bye.